LSU wins college baseball's national championship for the 8th time. We've got your recap and reaction. It's Locked on LSU. Here we go.
You are Locked on LSU, your daily podcast on the LSU Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, let's get it. It is Locked on LSU, your team every day. I'm your host, Matt Moscona. Thanks so much for making us your first listen. We're free, available wherever you get podcasts, of course, on YouTube as well. So please subscribe. As always, one of the fastest ways to help us grow is by leaving your comments below. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. How about it, y'all? LSU baseball is the national champion for the 8th time under Jay Johnson. This is the second in 4 seasons, 2 under Jay Johnson, 2 in the last 3 years. Jay Johnson becomes the fastest coach ever to win 2 national championships with the same school, doing it in a matter of 4 seasons at that school. And there is no reason to believe that he is done tallying that number. What a day for LSU. We'll run through the game. Want to let you hear from Jay Johnson, post-game, some context on this LSU baseball team. And one of the really cool moments is that Skip Bertman, the legendary LSU baseball coach, was in attendance at Charles Schwab Field on Sunday for the championship. He addressed the LSU baseball team before the game, talked to the coaches in the coaches' locker room before the game. And when you knew the skipper was there, man, the Chanticleers didn't have much of a chance. Let's dive into it. So there were fireworks early. Anthony Ianson was absolutely magnificent for LSU. Exactly what you expected. Exactly what he's been for LSU all season. 6 1/3, just 3 runs on 7 hits. He struck out 9. The runs he allowed were both on homers to the number 7 and 9 hole hitters, but sometimes that's the way the cookie crumbles. But after LSU went quietly in the first, Coastal came up, and I thought it was pretty imperative. Ianson gets a strikeout to start the game. There's an infield single. It's a ground ball at Dickinson at second, ranging to his right. Makes a great throw. Jones can't get the dig. So you got a runner on first base, 1 out. Ianson gets another strikeout. Now there's 2 outs, runner on first. Coastal steals. It's what they do. On the pitch, it was called a strike. Runner was safe at second, but it was called a strike. And the first base coach for Coastal Carolina was not super pleased about the call at home plate of a strike. So he began to argue. The home plate umpire then, of course, gave a warning, at which point Kevin Schnall, the head coach, starts chirping with the home plate umpire, who then demonstrably tells him, get back, 3 times. He persists, come out of the dugout. Boom, he gets tossed. The first base coach engages. He gets tossed as well. And we all saw the big hullabaloo. I know everyone's going to have their own opinion. I've said it for years. I think all umps, refs, officials are bad at their job. It's impossible to be good. In that situation, I can't help but go to what Jay Johnson said on Saturday night in Game 1. When LSU had Daniel Dickinson hit by a pitch and then was ultimately called out because he leaned into the pitch, Jay Johnson in that moment didn't come out of the dugout. He, as a matter of fact, showed great restraint. And this is what Jay Johnson said in that moment, coming out of that moment.
As after you're not supposed to go out there after a review. So the umpire was correct. And I know that. And I knew that. I just wanted clarification the ball was clearly in the batter's box. I'm not sure what he was supposed to do. And it's a tough rule where you're rewarding the pitcher for throwing a ball in that case. And I thought he did make attempt to roll, but at that point, my team needs me to stay poised and focused and calm. And as they said, get to the next pitch. And that was that. So you're not allowed to, after a review, you're not allowed to go back out to the umpire.
My team needs me to stay poised and focused and calm. You're not allowed to go back out there to the umpire. What did Kevin Schnall do? He was not poised and focused and calm, and he did go out to the umpire, and he got tossed. Some have said they're very different situations. No, they're not. There's rules that are letter of the law. And by the letter of the law, the home plate umpire enforced it. And you can say, well, you can't do that in that situation. Well, he gave the first base coach a warning. He gave Kevin Schnall multiple warnings, came out of the dugout. He got tossed. Like, what are you going to do? You know the rules. This isn't Major League Baseball where coaches kick dirt on umpires all the time. It's still college baseball. And that's sometimes what noobs, what people who don't watch the sport, who try to jump in and say, ump show, say. Why did Jay Johnson not go out there in game one and kick dirt on the umpire, get in his face and challenge him to throw him out? Because he knew the rule. Kevin Schnall is a first-year head coach who made a first-year head coach mistake in the most critical game of his career. And it was clearly not only on him, but also on his first base coach as well. Now, in that situation, it felt like the game was going to unravel. Top two, LSU at the plate, first batter, Jared Jones hits the ball down the third base line. Error. LSU's got a man on base, but ground ball double play by Luis Hernandez, line out by Chris Stanfield. Then after two quick strikeouts in the top of the third by Ianson, boom, homer, Coastal's up 1-0. Ianson gets out of it with a strikeout, but you're going, okay, all the things that felt like it might go against Coastal, now they got momentum on their side. Could this end up being a good thing for Coastal? I thought this sequence was the sequence in the game. Coastal takes a lead. LSU comes back in the top of the third and was relentless and got an answer. After a leadoff single, Michael Brazwell sacrifice bunts. Derek Curiel has a fly out, so now there's a runner on second with 2 outs. Ethan Fry up, and Fry comes up, boom, with a huge double to tie the game. It was a massive response because remember, they got their dude on the mound, Jacob Morrison. They're feeling awesome about their ace. And so they got their ace on the bump. And just like that, after they took a lead, you respond right away. And it was so important after LSU responded to get a quick inning, and Ianson did that. Fly out, ground out. Remember, and that was on 4 pitches, by the way. And then there was just a little end of the bat flare into center field, like right off the end of the bat. And then right after that, he comes back with a strikeout. So you're back in the dugout hitting. Leadoff walk by Jake Brown. Single, hit by pitch, Luis Hernandez. Bases are loaded in that situation. And then up comes Chris Stanfield, who gets the 2 RBI double. LSU's up 3-1. Stanfield talked about it after the game.
Yeah, I went up there with a clear mind. And like Chase said earlier, I was just trying to do it for the guys. You know, it was 1-1 at the time. And I knew if I came through, it'd put us on top. And, you know, it was really just getting a good pitch and putting a good swing on it like all year.
I think what happened next was the one critical moment when Coastal missed Kevin Schnall. Listen, over the course of a game, a coach can't throw a pitch. A coach can't stand in the batter's box and take a swing at a strike or take a bad pitch. A coach can't read a fly ball off the bat. A coach can't field a grounder and make an accurate throw. They can't. Coaches in baseball can't do any of those things. Ultimately, the players have to go execute. But there's a couple of decisions a game that are integral for a coach. And in this game, this was the moment. LSU's up 3-1. So LSU now has a 2-run lead. This, by the way, Coastal season's over if they lose. Season is over. So as much as you may love Jacob Morrison, if he gets into trouble, you got to pull it. LSU's up 3-1. Brazwell's up. Sack bunt. You get the pop out, unfortunately, by Brazwell. And this was the one moment where I thought I didn't really know what Jay Johnson was doing. It's 3-1. You have a runner on first base. It's first and second. You sacrifice Brazwell. You sacrifice Dickinson, to go second and third, 2 outs. And then here comes Brazwell. Forgive me. 1 out. I'm sorry. I screwed that up. It's 3-1. It's 3-1, first and second, nobody out. You sack bunt to get second and third, 1 out. But you're getting to Brazwell. And that was the big question. Like, you're sacrificing Dickinson to get to Brazwell. I get it, second and third with 1 out. So second and third, less than 2 outs, ground ball right side, fly ball in the air, run comes home. But it's Brazwell. Brazwell hasn't had a hit in 8 games. It was a curious decision, and Brazwell popped that on the infield. So you needed Derek Curiel to come up in a big spot, and my goodness, did he. Derek Curiel laces the 2 RBI single just like that. You're up 5-1, and I'll go back to, and this is not hindsight 2020. If there was one moment in the game where I said, I can't believe they're doing this, it was right there. With runners on second and third and 2 outs, LSU up 3-1, and Derek Curiel up. Curiel had already seen Morrison twice. He struck out in the first. He flew out in the third. This was the third at-bat for Curiel. Curiel is your best bat-to-ball hitter. He doesn't strike out much. He's great at making contact. And at this point, all he's got to do is find grass and 2 runs are scoring. And you're up 5-1. Again, it's the third time now we've seen Morrison. I can't believe they let Curiel face Morrison in that spot. Down 2, runners on second and third, LSU's best contact hitter up. I thought for certain in that moment they were going to pull Morrison, go to a left-handed pitcher, someone who's going to be a better matchup against Curiel. They let Curiel face Morrison. He gets the 2 RBI single. It's 5-1. Then they pull him. Then the game hit a lull. Listen, LSU had some other moments, right? In the 7th and the 8th, you had opportunities. You had a walk and an E4, which put 2 on. You struck out to end the inning. In the 8th, after leading off with a strikeout, Daniel Dickinson had the drag bunt for a single. And then you had a caught stealing on the interference call by Brazwell, and Brazwell actually gets a single, which is a bummer because without the interference call on the caught stealing, on the stolen base attempt, I should say, you'd have a runner on second base, and Brazwell finally breaks through and gets a single, but there was nobody on base at that point. The point is, you still had a couple of opportunities to get some insurance. It just didn't happen. In the bottom of the 7th, they hit a 2-run homer off of Ianson, but it just didn't matter. At that point, it's 5-3, and you had everybody queued up. Chase Shores comes in, needs 4 pitches to get you out of the 7th, 1 pitch ground out, 3-pitch strikeout. The only thing he would allow after a clean bottom of the 8th was a single to lead off the 9th. But after that, he would strike out and then ground ball double play to end it. And LSU was your national champion. It was exactly what you would expect it would be. LSU, there was nothing that Jacob Morrison did that was outstanding. LSU has seen pitchers like that all season long. Anthony Ianson was fantastic, and you had Chase Shores and Kason Evans queued up ready to go, and anybody else you needed once you got a lead, but all it took was Ianson and Shores to get you home. So the Tigers, for the 8th time now in program history, are the national champions. So Jay Johnson after the game talked a lot, including an injury to a player we didn't know about that I got to tell you about when we come back. It's Locked On LSU, your team every day. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about the baseball under the bright lights, golf on the green, high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. I mean, you're already following the action, so why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. Listen, I love FanDuel. Made a play on game 1 of the championship series. I liked LSU and the under, parlayed that together. It was a great payout. NBA Finals are over, but there's so much still to bet on, so you can do it right now at FanDuel. And if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today and visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Jay Johnson, his second title in 3 seasons, obviously many emotions.
This was different. I mean, the first one was the first one. And I felt like in coming here to LSU, I felt like I could help that group of players in the second year that we were here do that. And we needed to add Skeens, White, those guys. But I felt like I could help Trey Morgan be a better player. And, Jordan Thompson be a better player. And so that was kind of that. This was just, I'm so proud of how this team went about their business. Because, again, I mean, these guys are really smart, and they know the pro prospects that some of these guys are. I think I might have even called Kendall, and he rated us like 3 in the preseason or 4. I'm like, man, are you sure? That seems pretty high, just because you didn't know, because it was so many new pieces. But they performed like national champions every single day of this. We had a great fall. They did what they needed to do in December. We had a great lead up to the season, the 4 weeks leading up to the season, great in the non-conference. I mean, our league is so tough. Going 19-11 feels like amazing. You know what I mean? And then tournament time's our time. And they were amazing in the NCAA tournament.
It's the biggest differentiator between LSU and Coastal Carolina. And I think Coastal is a fantastic team, and I'm not here to talk about Coastal, but my pick in this series was LSU in 2. I did pick Coastal to win bracket 1. I did pick Coastal to beat Auburn in the Auburn Super Regional. I did not pick Coastal to get out of their own regional. I thought Florida would do that, but they never faced Florida because Florida got dog walked twice by East Carolina. But the point is, this isn't an anti-Coastal Carolina sentiment. It's to say Coastal statistically was a very good pitching staff, but they faced a Sun Belt schedule. They had inflated numbers. And offensively, it was worth looking at to say their offensive numbers weren't very good. They were opportunistic. They took advantage of hit by pitch and walks. Well, LSU was going to run up their strike throwers. It didn't walk a bunch of guys, didn't hit a bunch of guys. So Coastal was going to have to earn it. And by and large, they weren't able to do it, which is why in 2 games, Coastal Carolina scored 3 runs. Now, LSU in 2 games scored 6 runs. So it wasn't like LSU's offense was a juggernaut in this situation. So you tip your hat to Cam Fluke for the job he did, and Coastal's bullpen in game 2 behind Jacob Morrison for keeping it within reach for Coastal. But ultimately, LSU is better, and they're battle-tested. And they've won games by run-ruling Arkansas. And they won games in extra innings by walking off Tennessee and walking off Arkansas. LSU has found ways to win games in multiple different ways against great opponents all year. That's not something you face every week in and week out in the Sun Belt. It's what you face week in and week out in the SEC, which is why LSU was a prohibitive favorite to win this thing and ultimately why they did. Now, there's a couple other things that were kind of amazing. First of all, we learned that Daniel Dickinson's been dealing with an injury since the first game of the regional.
The person just far exceeds the player. I mean, he's so competitive. He's been playing with a broken hand since the first game of the NCAA tournament. Listen to what I just said. He broke his hamate bone in the game. He hit 2 homers in the first game of the NCAA tournament and just got 5 hits in Omaha, and we went 10-1. I mean, if that is not toughness, I don't know what is. So massive hats off. And then guys got better. Stephen Milam got better, especially down the stretch.
Dickinson hit 2 homers in the first game of the postseason. If we go back and look at that game, remember it was an interesting story because it was the same young fan that caught both home run balls, and that was the game against Little Rock on May the 30th, which also happens to be the last time Michael Brazwell got a hit before this championship game, which means Daniel Dickinson played with a broken hamate bone against Dallas Baptist, both games against Little Rock, both games against West Virginia, Arkansas, UCLA, Arkansas again, and now both championship games against Coastal Carolina. That really puts into perspective, I think, the amazing job that Dickinson did and why we saw a lot of bunting, drag bunting, and small ball from Daniel Dickinson. After that game against Little Rock, where he homered twice, he got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He got 7 hits the remainder of the postseason. He was 0 for 3, 1 for 3, 0 for 4, 0 for 2, 0 for 5. Then in Omaha, 1 for 4, 1 for 4, 1 for 3, 1 for 3, 2 for 3. Which is pretty remarkable that he actually saved his best for Omaha with a broken hamate bone. That's, of course, the injury that Warren Morris had. And throughout that season, Warren Morris, who played with the hamate bone and came back from the hamate bone, struggled with power and did bunt a lot for LSU, even bunting for hits. But that does explain in situations why Jay asked Dickinson not only to bunt for hit, what he did in the game against Coastal, but also give himself up, which he did, and we talked about it earlier, in the situation in the 4th when Dickinson gave himself up for Brazwell. That goes to show you why they were bunting with Dickinson in that spot. Dude was playing with a broken hand, which is kind of amazing. Speaking of Brazwell, Jay was also asked about Michael Brazwell, who was stellar defensively in this College World Series and did get on base a couple of times on Sunday in the championship game. He walked and finally got the evasive single in the 8th inning.
We don't win the game last night without his defense. I mean, we lose the game without his defense last night. And I was looking hard at it. Tanner's a good player too, and he helped us get here. But, on just the offensive platoon side, it probably would have made more sense to play Tanner against Fluky and Morrison. But just with the pressure that Coastal puts on you with the inside game, we just felt like we had to play him. And there was a lot of pull side ground balls against Cade throughout the season. And so we have a meeting where we kind of talk through the lineup, and that one I just put on the board, and somebody tried to raise their hand. I was like, no, this is what we're doing tonight. And then they came back and said, good decision, coach. And then today, awesome. Sack bunt, I believe, walk, and a base hit. And I'm really happy for him because when he came here, he didn't talk about pro base, but he talked about getting to Omaha. And then I kind of fist bumped him the first game when we got here, and he's like, well, we're here, and let's win it now. And he contributed a lot to that.
Michael Brazwell never hung his head despite the offensive struggles, and that was great to see because his defense was a key part of this series. In game one, we talked about the play he made in the 9th. Of course, both plays in the 2nd inning, the bunt that Cade Anderson fielded and got the runner at the third base, and then obviously the stolen base attempt where the runner slid past the base where Brazwell stuck with it, got the runner. It was amazing. He was great defensively and contributed in this series, even if not offensively. Listen, you won more than 50 games to Michael Brazwell at third. It's a pretty good formula, keeping him there. So the Tigers win the national championship, and there was a special visitor on hand, and that was fantastic to see. That's how we'll wrap up Locked On LSU, your team every day. Of course, the Tigers are the national champion, and you know who takes care of the national champion Tigers? That's Our Lady of the Lake. And that same level of health care is available to you. Our Lady of the Lake is part of the Franciscan Missionaries of Our Lady Health System and the official championship health partner of LSU Athletics. Our Lady of the Lake, they are transforming healthcare. Clinical excellence in sports medicine, student health, breakthrough research, medical education. They do it all. And at Our Lady of the Lake, they're taking game-changing care that keeps athletes at their best and builds a stronger, healthier Louisiana for all of us. This partnership is very much about athletics for certain and helping LSU be great on the field. But it's not just about sports. It's about caring for all of us, creating opportunity, leading the next generation of healthcare talent right here at home. So whether you're on the field, you're in the stands, or you're just doing life, know that championship level healthcare is right here for you. You can learn more at ololrmc.com/LSU. That's ololrmc.com/LSU. Our Lady of the Lake and LSU. Together, we roar. What a great thrill to see Skip Bertman, winner of 5 national championships, in attendance for LSU's 8th title, the program that he built and Jay Johnson is currently overseeing. Skip flew to Omaha on Sunday. He was there watching the game. He did speak to the team before the game. He met with the coaches in the coaches' locker room before the game. And Jay Johnson's reverence for Skip Bertman is something that I think every person that has loved this program for any length of time can't help but admire.
Like, literally the best part of me being the head coach at LSU has been the relationship that I have with Coach Bertman. Like, far and away is the best part of being the coach at LSU is the relationship that I have with Coach Bertman. He wouldn't argue with me. I would say the 2 national championships are up there tied for first with that, and I think he'd be okay with that. But he came into the coach's locker room today, and I knew he was coming, but it was still like, it caught me off guard for a second, and I was like, oh, we're winning today. Like, the man with the magic is in the house. And then he started talking like what we were going to do for the celebration. I was like, Coach, this is a pretty good team that hadn't lost in 2 months, so we got to try to figure out to beat. But he's the best, and I think it's so awesome that he's here and that he got to share in this championship game.
You know, if you're an everydayer, and thank you for that, so many of you have been along this whole championship journey. I did a 2.5-hour live stream post-game show, which if you care to, you can go check out. But maybe fast forward to the final 15 minutes if you don't care to hear or see the whole thing. But I got a little emotional talking about this team and about Coach Bertman and Jay Johnson's reverence for Skip. Because anyone that's cared at all about this program for any length of time, and I consider myself among the many blessed who's old enough to remember all 8 championships. And that's not to say that if you're a younger fan and you don't remember them all, that somehow you're lesser than. It's not that at all. Or if you're older than me and you got even more memories, that's fantastic. It's just to say that I have a perspective where I do remember every team. I mean, I can go through the 1991 champions from Gary Email catching and Johnny Telechea at first, your middle infield with Tookie Johnson, Andy Sheets, and Chris Mook at third, and La Mouton and right, and Armando Rios and Rich Cardani and center and left respectively, and Chad OJ and Paul Bird and Rick Green. I mean, they were amazing. It was an amazing team. And I remember it so vividly. And I remember 93 and 96 and 97 and 2000. My goodness. I covered 09 was the first team I covered that won the national championship. 2023 and now 2025. I've got different memories of all of them. But Skip was the architect of it all. And to know that Jay has respected Skip to that level is fantastic. And the fact that at 87, Coach Bertman's still around the program is awesome. And I'm glad he was there to see it on Sunday with LSU winning number 8 in the program that he built. So how do the Tigers move forward from here? Oh, we will celebrate. We will bask in the afterglow of number 8. But Jay Johnson and his staff now have work to do to get ready to try to defend this title and win number 9. After spending 10 days in Omaha, they got work to catch up on. And that's something we will get to throughout the course of this week right here on Locked on LSU. Hey, do me a favor. If you're on podcast, please subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Rate us, leave a review. If you're on YouTube, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you're notified whenever we post a new video, and let a friend know if they love the Tigers. We got you every single day for Locked on LSU, your team every day.